We must understand that hair discrimination is rooted in systemic racism. Anti-Black hair sentiments on U.S. soil has existed for centuries. As a member of Congress, we have a legal and ethical obligation to push back against the Eurocentric beauty perpetuated across TV and in the media.
12 seconds later.
And breaking tonight, federal prosecutors say South Florida Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick stole millions in FEMA disaster funds and then funneled that money into her own 2021 campaign. A new indictment alleges she, her brother, and several associates routed a $5 million overpayment through multiple accounts using straw donors, personal spending, and even filing a false tax return to hide it. If convicted, Cherfilus-McCormick faces up to 53 years in prison.
So on today's episode of Nobody is Above the Law, it looks like a Democrat congresswoman from Florida by the name of Sheila McCormick, she is essentially a wannabe Jasmine Crockett, just got indicted by a Florida grand jury and is facing up to 53 years in prison after she allegedly stole and laundered $5 million from FEMA. That is right, from disaster relief funding bankrolled by the taxpayer. Now, I have to say that politicians stealing and laundering money is nothing new. The corruption is nothing new, especially from BLM supporters. I mean, after all, we know what that slogan means, buy large mansions. We've seen much of that type of behavior with, for instance, charity donations over the years. But I have to say, this is especially low even for pro-BLM Democrats, right? It's one thing to receive nonprofit donations from gullible liberals and then buy a mansion with it. It's another thing to actively steal $5 million freaking dollars from disaster relief in the state of Florida, where people need FEMA every time there's a hurricane. I mean, that is just a new level of truly atrocious. And it also begs the question, how are you going to do something like that and then run for Congress and think you're never going to get caught? The hubris of these types of people sometimes astonishes me. Honestly, this is the Democrat George Santos, okay? This is worse, actually, than anything George Santos ever did. Because, you know, you would think, okay, you're going to steal $5 million from disaster relief. Maybe keep a low profile. Heck, flee the country, never come back. You know, don't want to raise any alarm bells. Oh, no, let me run for Congress. I'm just going to spend years calling everyone racist who criticizes me, because it turns out this has been a core accusation against her. There's been an investigation ongoing for a very long time. And then finally, here she is getting indicted. But I'm sure she's going to claim that it was racist too. You know, she was just stealing the disaster relief FEMA money. It was her reparations, okay? She's entitled to it. She's entitled. That's her 40 acres and a mule, you know? Coming straight from FEMA. It's actually the government's fault for not paying the reparations. But anyways, guys, we'll tell you about this story here today. It's pretty ridiculous. That said, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is not only the best way to support our work, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, I mean, look, let's be real. Sheila is disadvantaged in this country. You know, she faces systemic oppression. So as AOC said, it's okay if some people need to, you know, take some bread, right? Yeah, maybe she took $5 million from disaster relief, but I'm sure she was really just hungry. She needed it, okay, because she was growing up in a system that wanted to keep her down. That's why she stole money, and then ran for Congress. Anyways, here's the reporting from NBC. Representative Sheila McCormick out of Florida, by the way, she represents like the Fort Lauderdale, Broward County area, if I'm not mistaken, was indicted on Wednesday and on charges that she stole and laundered $5 million in federal relief funds and used the money for her congressional campaign, the Justice Department said. So I have to say, that's a next level of stupidity, okay? I don't even understand how you do that. Because it's like, if you're going to steal, look, I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if you were to money launder, you know, you want to have shell companies offshore the stuff, maybe move it into some like crypto account, you know, figure out a way to keep it low profile. Nope. Let me just put it on the record of my congressional campaign where the funding is public record through the FEC. Yeah, great job. Okay, great job. You know, we're not really dealing with the brightest characters here in the book, you know. It's like some criminals out of Looney Tunes or something like that. I mean, that's atrocious. Or a Scooby-Doo bad guy, okay? I mean, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy could have caught this idiot. But anyways, in a news release citing the indictment, the Justice Department said that McCormick, 46, and her brother, Edwin Cherfilus, her brother here, worked on a staffing contract funded by the Federal Emergency Management Agency for COVID vaccinations tied to their family healthcare company in 2021, and that the company was overpaid by $5 million in relief funds. Now, if it was an accident by the federal government that they overpaid, obviously, the most ethical thing to do would be to return the money. But if you wanted to be unethical, I would think maybe just keep it there. No, instead they're going to donate it to the congressional campaign. Yeah, that's very smart thing to do, She and her brother are accused of conspiring to steal the overpayment and route it through various accounts to conceal its origins. Well, clearly they didn't do a good job, They probably just thought if they send it from Bank of America to Chase Bank, the federal government's never going to find us. Jeez. McCormick is alleged to have used the money for her own enrichment and to fund a significant part of her congressional campaign. Now, this person won a special election in January 2022, right after, again, she was laundering the money to fill the seat of a Representative Alcee Hastings, who had passed away. She won 72% of the vote in that year's general election and was re-elected last year when she ran uncontested. Well, I have to say, her area in Florida is a super blue area, but if there's any window to potentially unseat this person, it would be in the upcoming election after this scandal, right? Probably she's going to step down. Who knows? Maybe she tries to run as a convicted felon. She's saying, never surrender. They're after me because I'm after you. She's going to post a mugshot and use it for fundraising. I don't know. But anyways, the Justice Department said that McCormick and another defendant here also used straw donors to secure additional campaign contributions. Keep in mind, she won 70% of the vote. She was reelected in an uncontested campaign. Again, the hubris here, the weird sociopathic power-hungry behavior, the they won't catch me type of let me just keep stealing type of nonsense, Why did she need to do this? She didn't need to do this at all. She could have either, again, kept a low profile, not put it in a congressional campaign where the police are going, wee woo, wee woo, or at the very least, run the congressional campaign without stolen money. It clearly it wasn't that hard. It didn't exactly come down to the wire, did it? But, this is, again, that's her reparations. That's what she had to deal with. I'm sure these allegations are just racist, guys. And you'll see in a second the reason why we're making fun of her in this way. But anyways, funneling other disaster relief money from FEMA-funded contracts to friends and relatives who made donations to the campaign as if they were contributing their own money. Yeah, surely, that was never going to get caught, guys. McCormick and a man who is alleged to have prepared her 2021 taxes are also charged with filing a false tax return that year to the federal government, according to the Justice Department. So there's 3 different crimes here that are being brought up in the same indictment. This is ridiculous, guys. The congressional office did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but her legal team said that she is, quote, a committed public servant who is dedicated to her constituents. We will fight to clear her good name. Well, there's going to have to be a lot of work done to clear the good name because it's a lot of accusations, right? But, what's really interesting about this is you might look at the indictment and think, oh, this is a Trump political hit job, right? The Republicans are just going after her because she's a Democrat. But I like to point out the timeline here, that these accusations stem before Trump even became president, right? McCormick has been under investigation by the bipartisan House Ethics Committee after it received a referral from the nonpartisan Office of Congressional Conduct, or OCC, not the DOJ. This started in OCC, that found there is, quote, substantial reason to believe that Representative McCormick requested community project funding that would be directed to a for-profit entity, aka her and her congressional campaign. The OCC, formerly the Office of Congressional Ethics, referred Cherfilus-McCormick to the Bipartisan Ethics Committee in May 2024. So don't let the Democrats say, oh, the Republicans are just weaponizing the government. No, this has been a thing for a very long time. It's worth noting that essentially every single time she was confronted, long time ago, before all of this, right? This is from, for instance, February 2025, on this very question by journalists, the response was very telling. Let me just say it came off as very guilty, right?
Sheila, I'm from CBS 12 News. We want to ask you about this money, the taxpayers' money that was overpaid, almost $6 million. Do you have any intention of repaying that money?
Well, we can't have the conversation right now. Right now, the attorneys are handling it. But if you want us to talk about the union members who are here and how we can help the unions and protect all of our citizens here, we would love to have that conversation.
Yeah, but
once that's resolved, then we can have that conversation. But right now, we can't have it.
The
so
state
we'd love
is.
to talk to you more about that.
Why don't you
but
speak with us right now? We've been trying to get answers about this for a long time.
We can't talk about it right now.
Why
But
not?
we have
Why
our
is
union
that?
because the attorneys are dealing with it. It's a legal matter. But we have the union members here who would love to talk to you about what's going on.
Don't you have something to say to the taxpayers about this?
Hi.
Very nice to finally meet you, man.
Yes, thank you so much.
We'll be up there in D.C. on the 22nd of March to meet with you guys if you're going to be around.
Yes.
What was that? That was the guiltiest answer of all time, right? I mean, literally, she's all excited. Oh, CBS News is here. And CBS is like, why'd you steal $6 million from FEMA? She's like, starts talking really fast. Oh, the attorneys are handling it. And please conduct over here and then let me run away. Okay, thank you. What did we just watch, right? Totally not guilty. You know, she totally doesn't seem nervous at all that she's being questioned. And then, you know, like take a look at here, for instance, what happens when they try to ask her press director about the same question, you know, because clearly she can't handle any questions about what happened with FEMA. So let's see.
Thank you so
Have a good
much.
day, man.
How could
Thank
you
you.
keep this money? How could you keep the taxpayers' money? Pardon me, we're here at a public meeting, we're asking her
And I
questions.
said, I advised you to contact our communications director if you would like a meeting at a later time.
Well, we would like an interview.
Okay, so
we've asked for
contact
interviews, and you
but
don't
you're not going to
return our
have one
calls.
here. You're not going to have
Why,
one here
why is that?
because we are here about the issues that we discussed here.
But she's an elected official. She owes
I
an answer
answered your
to the
question.
taxpayers.
I answered your question.
No, I'm asking her,
No,
why
and I
doesn't she
answered your
repay the
question.
money? I'm
And I
asking her.
answered your question.
Okay, well, we're going to ask her because she owes the taxpayers an answer about this. She does. I mean, this is going on for weeks now. This is ridiculous.
I've answered your question. She's not taking an interview.
Okay, well, we're here and we're going to try to ask her questions because that's what the taxpayers would want, right? I mean, her constituents.
By the way, you know, just to be clear, when these congressional offices say, and Biden did this a lot too, by the way, oh, the scheduling, right? Please email us about a pre-recorded and pre-requested interview. It means they're not going to take the interview, right? And that's the whole point of this. Oh, we're not taking an interview today. You know, she acts like she's super busy. I mean, just look, there's like 20 people at this whole event. You know, like who cares? She had plenty of time for an interview. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh shoot, it's about the legal case. Oh, let me run away. Okay. You know? So we know what's happening here. And neither of these people are doing a great job of covering it up, if you ask me. But, you know, feel free to share your own opinion.
Need to have some explanation about this. It's ridiculous. It really is. This is not just a few bucks. This is almost $6 million.
She is here in her official capacity. You're asking questions that have to do with a private entity business.
No, they don't. If this is a investigation that was already opened a year before by now on the House Ethics Committee. So that's just, first of all, not true. And yeah, actually, that's all I had to say. That's just not true. But yeah, you're doing a great job of covering this up. Now she's just going
We're
to
not
stand
going
here.
anywhere. We're going to stick around
That's
here.
fine.
Okay, and you can stay with us
And
if you'd
that
like.
is fine as well.
What is your name, by the way?
I prefer not to answer that.
She won't say the. It's clearly a staffer. You won't say the name. You won't say the name. And look at this stance. Okay, she's doing a screen. Send her to the WNBA. All right, look at that form. Look at that defense. What is happening?
Well, if you're her representative, why wouldn't you want to give us your name?
We are not giving any interviews or any statements about this matter at this time.
But it's pretty hard to ignore, isn't it? I mean, she took all this money from the taxpayers. The state's having to sue to get this back. I mean, wow.
Keep in mind, she just said, "Hey, reach out for an interview to our office," and then now she's saying that we're not taking any questions on. Yeah. Yeah, so the whole thing goes on. He's still trying to get an answer, and you could guess he just never does. He just never
Instead of
does.
laughing, just make sure you roll on a hole.
So yeah, the news reporter is right. It certainly is not just a few bucks, but again, after all, it's only $5 million. That's the 40 acres and a mule, don't you know? Right? Reparations, guys. It's worth pointing that out. It's also worth pointing out that, just a month ago, guys, check this out. She tried to sue actually, she tried to sue another Democrat primary opponent who's running against her in the 2026 race. For using this investigation as an attack ad, right? Saying it's not true, right? Defamation. And then literally a month later, what happens? Yeah, you get indicted for that very investigation. So take a listen as well.
This is the ad at the center of the defamation lawsuit from Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick. Her Democratic primary opponent, Elijah Manley, is running the ad.
Everything I've said has been based on the reporting.
Manley says he used our reporting to create this ad. It showcases our findings showing the state overpaid her company, Trinity Healthcare Services, $5.7 million to perform vaccinations during the COVID-19 pandemic, then refused to give back the money, leading to a lawsuit from the state and eventual settlement.
I want to know what the Congresswoman did with the money.
Around the same time, our news team obtained documents from congressional investigators showing the Congresswoman saw a similar $5.7 million increase in income. And the company then gave money to a political action committee controlled by the Congresswoman's campaign manager. The Congresswoman is suing over the ad. Her attorney calls the ad false, malicious, and intended to harm the plaintiff's reputation, saying the statements expose the Congresswoman to distrust, disgrace, hatred, contempt, ridicule, and cause destruction to her as a citizen and public official.
She repeatedly declined a request to interview over the corruption scandal, yet here she is quietly from the shadows trying to sue people who are bringing up genuine facts and news reporting about the very scandal. And that was only a month ago, right? This is how defensive she is. This is how bitter. How dare you criticize me? You're causing damage to my reputation. And then what happens a month later? She's now getting indicted on the very charges because it's almost like, yeah, it was never BS. So this is the lunatic word. She's insane. Okay, she's completely. We're not talking about that at this time. I'm gonna send my campaign staffer to block you with a screen. We're running a pig play here. Okay, let me talk to the 10 people. And then you bring this up, we're gonna just freaking sue you. It's like, yeah, okay, amazing. And this is all for what exactly? So that this very serious person, very serious representative, as you can tell, can do things like say, and I quote, right? Hair discrimination is rooted in systemic racism, right? So, as you can tell, this is why I've been making so many reparation jokes, is because this is what she's all about. This is her entire identity, right? I'm going to stand up to racism. I'm a race hustler. I'm an activist. And then, like all of them, it never fails. Every single time they're embezzling money. And then when you call them out for embezzling money, they basically try to call a mafia-style hit on you through the civil courts. Yeah, very telling.
I rise today to represent every person of African descent across this country and in Florida's 20 congressional district with natural hair. I call on my colleagues from the U.S. Senate to pass the Crown Act to prohibit discrimination on the basis of hair texture, hairstyle that is commonly associated with a particular race and national origin. Lawsuits initiated by Black workers alleging discrimination against their natural hair in the workplace have filled courthouses for more than 40 years. This legislation will provide us with the freedom to wear our crowns without discrimination. We must understand that hair discrimination is rooted in systemic racism. Anti-Black hair sentiments on U.S. soil has existed for centuries. As a member of Congress, we have a legal and ethical obligation to push back against the Eurocentric beauty perpetuated across TV and in the media. Hair discrimination is race discrimination. Unfortunately, some employers discriminate against people of African descent who wear natural hair, even though employment policies involvement are not related to workers' ability to perform the job.
Now, guys, keep in mind, she's saying all of this, she's giving this big speech, while she, as you can tell, straightens her hair like a white person. You can't make this up, but that's why we say race hustling, right? We got to stand up for the black hairstyles. You don't even have a black hairstyle, right? But as I said, you know, why is she stealing so much money? And then allegedly, and then now why is she, trying to sue some random primary opponent for defamation when he's not defaming her? Well, you know the exact answer there. It's because, ladies and gentlemen, after all, as I said, that's her reparations, guys, right? These racist attacks against her. You know, that's how it always goes. That's how it always goes. You know, they're after her because she's just a black woman from Fort Lauderdale. Because we've never seen one of those before, by the way. You know, it's like, she's making history. How dare you attack? This is anti-black. Give me a freaking break. But, there you go. Enjoy your 40 acres and the mule, okay? All right, that said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.